Cuba is currently facing a wave of increasing pressure, both economically and socially, as the country continues to deal with long-standing structural challenges along with new global uncertainties. However, despite these mounting difficulties, the Cuban government has made it absolutely clear that its political stance will remain unchanged. In recent statements, Cuban leadership emphasized that while there is openness toward dialogue with the United States, such engagement must not be misunderstood as a sign of weakness or a willingness to compromise on core principles. For Cuba, sovereignty and independence are not negotiable. They are the foundation of the nation's identity and political system. This firm position comes at a time when many observers are speculating about the possibility of improved relations between Havana and Washington. There have been signals suggesting that communication channels could be reopened and that certain areas of cooperation might be explored. However, Cuba has responded to these developments with a cautious and calculated approach, making it clear that any form of engagement must be based on mutual respect and equality. From Havana's perspective, the historical relationship with the United States has been marked by decades of tension, sanctions, and political pressure. These experiences have shaped a deeply rooted sense of caution, leading Cuban authorities to remain vigilant in any potential diplomatic process. The message is consistent and direct. Cuba is willing to talk, but it will not accept conditions that undermine its political system or interfere in its internal affairs. At the same time, the country is dealing with significant internal challenges. Economic difficulties, shortages of essential goods, and public concerns have created a complex domestic environment that requires careful management. Despite this, the government continues to project stability and resilience, reinforcing its commitment to maintaining the current political direction. Cuban officials have also highlighted that the path forward must be defined by the Cuban people themselves, without external pressure or influence. This emphasis on self-determination reflects a broader strategy aimed at preserving national unity while navigating a rapidly changing global landscape. Meanwhile, the international community continues to closely monitor developments in U.S.-Cuba relations, recognizing the potential implications for regional stability and global geopolitics. Any shift in this relationship could have far-reaching consequences, not only for the two nations involved, but also for Latin America as a whole. In this context, Cuba's position represents a delicate balance between openness and resistance, a willingness to engage with the world, combined with a firm determination to protect its sovereignty. The government's stance sends a clear signal that while dialogue remains possible, it must occur on terms that respect Cuba's independence and political identity. Ultimately, this ongoing situation underscores the complexity of modern diplomacy, where cooperation and conflict often coexist. For Cuba, the priority remains unchanged: to defend its political system, safeguard its national interests, and navigate external pressures without compromising its core values. As tensions continue to evolve, one thing remains certain: Cuba will not alter its course under pressure. The country stands firm, sending a strong and unmistakable message to the United States and the world. Cuba is entering a defining moment, one shaped by mounting economic strain, shifting global dynamics, and increasing international attention. Yet amid all these pressures, the nation continues to demonstrate a remarkable level of consistency in its political direction, signaling to the world that its path will not be altered by external influence. Rather than reacting impulsively to changing circumstances, Havana appears to be moving with deliberate caution. Officials have repeatedly emphasized that any interaction with Washington must be grounded in fairness, mutual acknowledgement, and respect for national independence. Engagement, from this perspective, is not about yielding control, but about protecting identity while navigating complexity. Over the years, interactions between the island and its northern neighbor have fluctuated between tension and limited cooperation. These fluctuations have left a lasting imprint on how decisions are made today. Experience has taught Cuban leadership to remain vigilant, ensuring that every diplomatic step is calculated rather than reactive. Meanwhile, domestic conditions continue to present significant obstacles. Economic constraints, supply shortages, and public concerns contribute to an environment that demands careful management. Despite these internal challenges, the government maintains a firm tone, reinforcing stability and emphasizing continuity in governance. As the situation continues to evolve, it becomes increasingly clear that Cuba is not operating in isolation, but rather within a broader network of global relationships that influence its strategic decisions. The island's leadership appears to be carefully observing shifts in international power structures, identifying opportunities while avoiding unnecessary risks. Instead of relying on a single direction, Cuba is gradually expanding its external connections, strengthening ties with various partners across different regions. This diversification allows the country to reduce vulnerability and create alternative pathways for economic cooperation. By doing so, it avoids placing excessive dependence on any one nation, particularly one with a complex and unpredictable history. At the same time, economic realities remain a driving force behind many of the country's choices. Access to resources, investment opportunities, and trade partnerships are all critical factors shaping policy decisions. While ideological consistency remains central, there is also a growing recognition that economic adaptation is necessary to sustain long-term stability. This does not imply a shift in foundational beliefs, but rather an adjustment in how those beliefs are applied in a changing world. Cuban authorities seem to be exploring ways to modernize certain aspects of the system without fundamentally altering its structure. This approach reflects a desire to remain relevant while preserving continuity. In this context, the role of younger generations cannot be overlooked. As new voices emerge, there is an increasing demand for improved living conditions, greater access to information, and expanded opportunities. These expectations introduce new dynamics into the national conversation, adding pressure for gradual transformation while still operating within established boundaries.